Hello and welcome to the second subpool. Here we are seeing the other portion of our first time submissions. Some of these people have been active on the forums. Midori no Kage goes by a different name, but I'll give him the choice of adding himself or not. And Insane Asylum is here in chat, so let's root for Insane Asylum to take the pool here. And up first we actually have Insane Asylum against Midori no Kage. Insane Asylum uses a homogeneous fleet of these things, which have a fair number of cannons and some melee blocks on the front. So if they accidentally, or it's not quite homogeneous, but this guy and this guy are similar enough. One of them's just like a bigger version. They should do quite a bit of damage. Now Midori no Kage is on some weird shit. This thing has the strangest array of synchro cannons I think I've ever seen, and the whole thing is lopsided, which is just weird. This guy, however, this looks like a campaign ship. All of these solar panels are basically useless in the tournament, and you can see it's got factories on the side, which is a considerable amount of point investment that aren't really going to be doing a whole lot. But let's see how it goes. Synchro cannons are still pretty impressive, but Sentinel armor is maybe more impressive. And you can see the little guys are getting shredded by those Sentinel cannons. And the big ones, they pass mobility, but for a Tinkerel ship they're relatively slow, which is not lending itself well against rushing Sentinel ships. This last one trying to hold on. Doing a pretty good job of keeping away, but I think it's just a matter of time until dumb stuff happens. And yeah, Insane Asylum ships do remind me of Jocrates' designs. Ooh, yeah, the wall. Never underestimate the wall. The wall is pretty legit. And that is a very trapped ship. And Insane Asylum takes the match. So next up we have Insane Asylum up against Quantum Reactor. Quantum Reactor is using a homogeneous fleet of these things, which he assures us are not kiters, but not entirely sure I believe him, mainly because of the whole missiles and no armor or anything. The dual shield design strikes me as unusual. I'm not sure we've seen anything like that, but we'll see how they go. Willing to give him a chance, but I do think Insane Asylum is going to have quite a bit of an advantage here. As you can see, a couple of his ships careening through multiple enemies. Quantum Reactor's fleet also not relatively quick for a kiter. Nah, don't feel bad, Drazard. Most people's first tournament goes about like that. I highly recommend checking out the later pools and the archive after the tournament, and you'll see all sorts of Tinkerl designs that are the reason for all the limitations that Tinkerl have. You know, getting used to the tournament mindset is a whole new way of playing this game. All the things that you're used to in the campaign don't necessarily apply in the tournament, and because of that, you know, everything changes. You have to think different. You have to look at a lot more details and stuff like that. There's playing Reassembly, there's beating the campaign, there's casually breezing through agents, and then there's competing in tournaments. On the plus side, once you compete in tournaments, you'll basically never actually want to play the campaign again because it'll just be too easy. And Insane Asylum takes round 1. I don't think Quantum Reactor has enough damage to really take the field from Insane Asylum. The Sentinel armor being the most durable armor is very difficult for low DPS weapons like missiles to actually make any progress on. And have a go in Desert, and don't worry, you'll improve. Just stick with it, and use the resources you have available. Get on the Reassembly Discord and talk to some of the veterans if you can. As Splinter said, it's a unique style. I really like the way they look. Now we just need to hammer out the combat efficacy. I don't know, they seem like pretty good kiters when they're not dead. Yeah, I think the not kiters can eventually whittle them down, but it just takes so long that, you know. Sure, they killed one of the cuddle bunnies, and it looks like they might kill a second here in a moment, but they've lost 15 of their own doing it. And it looks like a few more might be about to go here shortly. And Insane Asylum takes the match. That gives him 2-0 in the pool and guarantees champion bracket. Now let's see how it goes between Midori no Kage and Quantum Reactor. Unfortunately, that's a lot of disrespect out of those Tinkeril ships. The missiles don't do a tremendous amount of damage, but the constant pressure you can see is bringing down those Tinkeril shields. And Tinkeril do this neat trick where when their shields go down, their ship generally isn't far behind them. And Tinkeril shields are some of the best shields in the game too. But they can only take so much, I guess. Looks like Quantum Reactor might be taking round 1. And there we go, round 1 to Quantum Reactor. Yeah, Tinkeril lasers are pretty solid too, but it takes a lot of doing to get an amount of point defense that can't be oversaturated by incoming projectiles. That seems to be holding on pretty well right now. Both of these ships pretty well loaded to the brim with point defense lasers, greatly extending their lifespan. And yeah, both of these fleets have a very distinct look to them, and I thoroughly appreciate that. As much as I am a fan of combat efficacy, I also like a little diversity. If everyone's ships looked the same, then, you know, the game would be a whole lot less fun to look at. And that's one of the reasons I like to have these neophyte pools. It helps highlight the new players before they get their minds corrupted by the terrible, terrible efficiency that is meta. You know, it doesn't really look like it, but the ships from Quantum Reactor are actually holding up to incoming fire rather well. Those little stick arms, which don't look like they would be able to accomplish a whole lot, seem to do a good job of extending the boundary enough to cause ships to hit non-vital parts instead of the core pretty often. It's actually rather impressive. They're a little slow for kiters, but they're also a lot more durable than they really look. And it's true, the non-meta side does have all the pretty ships. And Quantum Reactor takes the match. And so thank you for joining, and I hope you enjoyed. Have a good one.